optimizing your harness designs for 2D and 3D environment, highlighting our product ePlan Harness proD. Today's agenda is a short introduction to ePlan, then we will move on to the ePlan Harness proD demonstration. And at the very end of the demonstration today, we will have a Q&A portion. All lines have been muted, so please use the chat feature for any questions, and we will answer at the end of the presentation. ePlan was founded in 1984, and we are based out of Monheim, Germany. We are part of the Freedom Low Group, and we are also a subsidiary of Vertal. ePlan has over 600 employees and is represented in over 50 countries with over 30,000 customers worldwide. One of the distinct factors of ePlan is our data portal. Our data portal has over 45 manufacturers. We have over 250,000 high-quality data sets and components within the data portal. Some of the advantages for the designers is reduction in errors in engineering and material planning, rapid designing without changes in medium, up-to-the-minute data at any time with reliable data quality, complete documentation, and worldwide uniform layout. Here you'll see our ePlan platform, our database-centric platform. First module on the platform is our electric P8. This is new dimensions in electrical design and engineering. This is for our electrical and schematic development with variant technology, for your electrical schematic data layout. This is a database technology that is easy to run different types of reporting, such as the bill of material list, wire list, and many more. Next module on our platform is the ePlan Fluid. This takes you from drawing to engineering for your hydraulics, pneumatics, and cooling systems. This is graphical and object-orientated and can make last-minute changing and productivity through variant technology. And it's easily adapted, integrated, and automated as required. Next module is the ePlan PPE. This is for modern and continuous process plant engineering for your process controls, P&ID, piping diagrams, and the flexibility through flexible workflow and engineering EI&C technology. Next module on our platform is the ePlan Pro Panel. This is the optimum workflow for the continuous enclosure design. This is used for your 3D panel layout. You can transfer device and wiring information from previous electrical design processes and can automatically determine the optimal wire routes and wire lengths. Our newest product is the ePlan Harness proD. You can optimize your harness designs for 2D and 3D environment. The Harness proD simplifies the most important stages of the design process with easy definition of cable and wire harness routes with an intuitive point-and-click method within a three-dimensional space. In a simple adoption of wiring list and connection information from ePlan, it can fully automate routing of wires and cables on previously defined paths, values for bundle diameters and wire lengths that are always up to date. It can track all of the wire harness elements which belong together, such as the wires, cable shoes, connectors, and more. Also has automatic placements of buffers and stoppers, and you'll see much more throughout this webinar today. I'm going to turn it over now to Paul Galeniak, and he is going to take you through a demonstration of the ePlan Harness proD.
Today we will be discussing, or I'll have the opportunity to show you a little bit about our latest product, ePlan's Harness proD. This is a harnessing tool that allows us to take in three-dimensional data and design our harnesses around that three-dimensional design. We also have the ability, if you do not have a three-dimensional design and you just want to just build up a harness drawing, you can certainly do that in a 2D environment or also do it in a 3D environment with something we call rapid prototyping. So you don't necessarily have to have a 3D model, but you can certainly use the 3D and 2D capabilities of Harness proD to develop your harness drawings. In addition to working on or designing your harnesses in Harness proD, you have the opportunity as well to import all of your electrical engineering data into Harness proD for all of your wiring and connector data. So if you happen to be working in the electrical environment and you want to stay synchronized between the electrical environment and your 3D or 2D harness environment, you can easily import and export the data. As you're developing your harness, you have these plausibility tests and checks that can be run as you are developing or creating your harness. Things like your bend radiuses taken in effect. You can also identify any collisions with your routing paths. Also, any connectors that may have a certain size socket and you're trying to fit a wire that may be too large for that socket, the software will automatically take that into account. There's also some calculations that are taken into account as well, as far as the overall size of your harness, the length of your harness, the length of the wires that are being connected to the devices will automatically be calculated as well. And then as you build up your bill of material, so all your parts lists will be generated, and also cost calculations can be done direct in your reports. From there, we'll take our 3D or 2D wire harness and we will build up the nail board. So the nail board is automatically created from the 2D and 3D environments, and there we can also identify how we're going to lay this out onto a traditional nail board for the manufacturing of that particular harness. So let's take a look at, we're going to take a look at Harness proD. Here's a sample project that I have. I have a little cabinet with some connectors that are within the cabinet. So I have some wires. You can see that there's some wires already connected to the different connectors going through these different bundle points. And you can see as the wires go into these different bundles, depending on the number of wires you have, you will also see the bundle increase or decrease in size. You can see that this bundle here has quite a few wires. So over on the left-hand side, as I select a bundle, I can see it highlighted over on the left-hand side of my page. I can see it in my occurrence tree view. So this is a list of all of the different bundles. As I put my cursor on, you'll see that it's flickering there. I can identify very quickly what bundle is being identified, and then I can open up that bundle and see exactly what is contained inside of that bundle. So here we have all of these wires that are currently within that bundle. I also can see that there is some flex tubing that has also been assigned, and that is that orange color that you see. Here, as I select on click on the green is this bundle up here, and that tells me that I have 3 wires going through that bundle, and there is shrink tubing on that bundle. So that is indicated with this green color that you see. So it's very easy for me to identify my different bundles, all of the wires that are contained inside that bundle. And then over on the right-hand side, I can see additional property information for that particular bundle. So here I can see the bundle name. The naming convention can be set up however you want. You can have the naming of your bundles automatically be generated. In this case here, we're using a letter B and just a counter for our numbering. So again, you can set that up however you'd like. You can also see if there's any library data. Library is our part number, the part number that has been associated with that particular bundle, or even the wires. As the wires are going through, you can see that the outside diameter is being defined as well. You can also see the length of that particular bundle, that harness that you're seeing here, the max fill ratio. So the software is automatically calculating the fill that you have for that particular harness. We also will identify the type of the harness name that those wires are actually going through. We generate our nail board. Here's, for example, our nail board for our W1. You will be able to see all of the individual connectors for that harness W1, and then also be able to see all of the individual connections. And what's nice too is you have a little table here that you can quickly identify. So this box is essentially my finished product. Okay, and I'm going to show you here in a few minutes, how did we get here? How did we get to the finished product? And one of the things I want to note before we get there is that now that I have a finished product, I can also have some options within my project. So for this particular panel, I may have a customer option. So for example, if I'm buying a car, I need to know, okay, am I going to get the standard radio, or am I going to upgrade to a nice flat panel screen or a touch screen? And that's just a basic, that's an addition or an option that you're going to grab, and that option affects the wire harness that is going to be used for the build of that car. So in this case here, we have some different configurations. We have a standard, advanced, and complete. So if I just click on the standard configuration, we'll see some of the objects disappear, indicating a standard configuration where we eliminate a cable because it's not needed for that particular option. And in this case here, maybe we go to an advanced configuration. Advanced configuration brings this cable back in, but we lose the connector right here. So if we want all of the options, we want this thing super loaded, we just go to the complete configuration. Now we added an additional connector here, and that allows us to, within Harness proD, we can very quickly create different options within your project. So we're going to go to a panel that you know, we have some connectors in there, but we don't have any wires yet. We have some bundles that have been identified in the branches, you know, leading to the different connectors. But in this case, we want to go ahead and we're going to bring in another connector here. So I'm going to put a connector. I want to put another connector right here on the wall. Well, in order to do that, I can either go to my part database and identify which connector I want to use from my part database. I have a number of different connectors available, and I can select from my part database which connector I want to use. Instead of that, since I'm also working on the electrical portion of this, in my electrical design, I'm going to use ePlan Electric P8 to do my electrical design. So here you can see all of the different connectors that are inside of that cabinet. Here we have a U8, 7, 6, and 5 it's on one of the walls. We have another connector here. Here we have a P9 connector. So what we're going to do is I want to add another connector right here. I'm going to add a CB1. So I'm going to insert that connector from my macro selection window, which is basically allowing me to pick from a saved object, something that I've saved in my standard set of symbols. So we're going to go ahead and select this one, and I'm going to place it in the schematic. So once I've identified exactly where that's going to go, I've now created a new connector. That connector also, since I saved it, I've also assigned the part information already. So I don't have to go into my part database and define a part number. It's already saved with that particular connector. Now I have a wire that's being connected from connection number 2. It's this 3103. And now I want to take my data. So as I've began doing my design work, I now can take this data, and we're going to export this information out of my current project, which is going to create 2 text files that I'm going to use inside of Harness proD. So back in Harness proD, I'm going to go and import my connector names. So when I import my connector names, I just identify the text file, and this dt._list, this is the text file that came out of ePlan, and we're going to go ahead and select this particular text file. So it's comma separated, so I'm going to indicate that here. I can see a list of all of my different connectors. I can see the CB1 is right here, and all of the part numbers for those connectors. So now we'll go ahead and run that. We'll see that now we have in our task window any missing components that need to be placed show up in the list of missing components. Since some of the components have already been placed, this is the CB1 that we just added in our electrical project. So now I just click, indicating here that I have some additional parts that I'm going to bring in with my device. That's okay. So we're going to now identify where this part is going to be placed. So I just pick a spot on the wall. So now I have my device sitting on the wall, and I can use some functionality of Harness proD to move that object around wherever I want on that particular wall. So I can quickly and easily move my objects around. I also, when I select the object, I can see under the translation, the positioning, I can see the exact X, Y, and Z coordinates. I can move that object to an exact point if I would like. Now I want to go ahead and I want to bring in my wires. So here we're going to go ahead and import import wires. And again, it's just a text file. And in this case, at this point, I have a little template that I put into place so that I don't have to select that it is a comma separated, and the software will automatically map the fields that I'm bringing into my project. So here I have my wire numbers. I'll open this up a little bit more for you. Here I have all my wire numbers, and in the second column I have all of my part numbers for those wires. And then here we have our part IDs and our pin numbers for the source, and then the target I have part IDs, which are my device tags, and the pin number. So we're going to go ahead and bring those in, and it should indicate for me that I have 44 wires coming into the panel. These wires are coming from my electrical schematics. I can also bring in additional wires if I want to from my part database. So here I have additional wires that I can select from my part database and place those wires wherever I need. Now I have all these wires, and I want to associate these wires to a harness. So we've already identified the branches and where the bundles are going to be. We've also identified the entryways for the wires. So here we're going to let the software has a built-in automatic routing functionality. So once we select that, the system automatically will locate the closest entryway for those wires, and we'll route those wires according to, or in that particular bundle. If I want to change the bundle, I want that wire to go in through a different origin. I can easily select a wire. I can unroute it, and now that wire is not routed anymore. You can see the bundle actually shaped itself. It changed its shape according to the actual size of the wire. So if I wanted to change the route of this particular wire here, I can show it going to a different route, or I can manually move that to a different route. So now we want to go ahead and bring in some new wires. Here you can see we have a couple of couple of pins that haven't been associated yet. We have pin 3 and pin 4. Currently they don't have any wires assigned. But if we were back in our electrical project, here in my electrical project I have on CB1 I have pins 3 and 4 that are available. If we go in and we take and add a couple of wires, and here I'm just going to add a couple of wire tags. We'll call this one here. We'll change the wire number from 3103 to 3104, and then we'll do the same with this one and make it 3106. So now we have new wires, 2 new wires that are going to pins 9 and 10 on the P9 connector, and then on the CB1 we've added the 3 and 4. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to export my information again, my wire list. So now back inside of the Harness proD product, I can simply import those wires into my system, and now I'll be able to quickly see the 2 additional wires have been added to 3 and 4. And what's nice is all I need to do is just tell the system, okay, you're going to route it through or automatically route it, and it puts it right into that particular bundle. Here, if I want to manually, I want to add a wire. You know, I'm working in my electrical project, but at some point I may just want to throw another wire in there. Here I can go to my part database like we showed earlier, and I can quickly add a wire to this connector here. And then if I want to go out to a different connector, let's see, if I go to this connection here, So now the software has automatically placed a new connection. That gray wire now has been added, and I can have the software automatically route it, or I can use what we call a semi-automatic route. By doing the semi-automatic route, I can have the software I can define exactly what entryway I want to use for that particular route. So if I select the entryway here, and I identify the exit, that wire now has been added to that bundle as this gray wire. I've indicated the gray wire has a size. It also has the core size information, and you can also see the name of that wire. If I want to change the name of that wire to, let's say, for example, 3107, I can change the wire name here as well. So now, as we begin working in the project, we can also identify if there are any issues with any collisions. Here I have under my task manager, I can check harness collisions. So simply by refreshing my harness collision check, I see that I have 4 different collisions. So by double-clicking on that, it'll highlight where the collision is. So here I've identified the collision by simply moving the harness a little bit. We can move it up a little bit, and that will help us to eliminate any collisions within the project. So then we just do a refresh, and we can see that our collisions now have been taken care of. So the software will automatically identify those for you and list them so that you can quickly take care of them. You also have here where the bend radius. The bend radius, the little red, that red indicator there, identifies that there is a bend radius issue. So by clicking on my harness, I can see that my outer diameter is 528. Well, it's calculated in the background the size of these wires going through. And since the bend here is a little bit too much, we can easily adjust that so that later on here we just alleviate the bend, and now we've taken care of the bend radius. So when we lay out our nail board, we will now have a true length. So our length is automatically updated, and we won't have to worry about having it too long, having that bend in there that could end up crimping a wire. As we get into modifications on the fly, synchronizing between the electrical and the harness, we can also start to maybe add some of the bundle wrapping. You're going to use tape to wrap your wires, or band your wires together. If you're going to use tie wraps, you have those items here available to you. You have looms, you have wrapping tape, you have braided sleeves, flexible tubing. All of that is used, and these are parts that you're going to just select from the part database. That way, when you generate your bill of material, you have a complete bill of material for all of the items that you're going to have in for your harness. So here, as I select that tape, the only thing I need to really do here is just identify where do I want the tape, and then I can add an additional length to that tape as well. So here we'll just stretch that out. So as we take that tape, then we'll just stretch that out. We'll just stretch it out to different branches out to our bundle. I also have tie wraps. So here, if I want to grab a tie wrap and just identify where I'm going to have different tie wraps, I can place tie wraps wherever I need. So I can quickly tie this all together using the tie wraps. You'll also notice these little blue indicators here. These are splices. So there may be a single wire coming through the harness that ends up being spliced into 2 separate areas or 2 separate locations, or even more. And here we're just indicating a splice. And again, that is part of our bill of material as well. So it's going to keep track of that splice and also the part information for that as well. So now let's go ahead and let's go out to the nail board. Now that we have our design all ready to go, we want to now go out to our nail board. So here as we go to a nail board that has been created for our CA1. So back in our bundle we have this bundle here, this harness is indicated as CA1. It's going to this device right here, which is our P9 connector, and it's going out to branching off to two different connectors, the U10 and our CV1. Nail board, now I can see that I have my P9 connector. I can see what the connector kind of looks like in a 2D environment and the individual connections. I can also, once I click on that connector, I can decide whether or not I want to have these connections fanned in or fanned out. So my appearance here, I can select whether I want to fan it in or fan it out, depending on how many connectors you may have and so on. You can also define the spacing and the direction and how those are going to be arranged. So very easy to customize and move things around if you need to. Your little reports here, you have little connection lists. You can easily move those around if you need to, as well as identifying these parts with the balloon information. So balloons can be easily moved around as well. So we can click those and stretch them out to wherever we want to go with those balloons as well. So with our connector, here we have our P9. You can see that on our P9, these different connections defined. If I want to see a little bit more information, I just click on the report, and over here in the columns, I can see all the different columns that are available to me to display for our report. Like, for example, the wire length. I want to see the wire length and maybe the wire core size. Once I do that, I can see that my report now has been updated, and we can see all the different wires. You can organize your pins. You can also do an edit. You can easily modify how you want to set your sorting, your sorting of your pins or your chart. Here you can see it's the number 10's up here. You can change your sorting so that it is in a numerical order. Here with our branches, you have some tools are up here to move and to modify how your harness is going to be laid out for that nail board. So you can do some manipulating before you actually send this out to manufacturing. So as I select the icon here to move the harness segment, so here as I click on where I want it to move, I click on this point here, and then I can click on the end of my harness and move it in any direction I want. The angle that it is moving is something that you can customize as well. You could have whatever size angle you want. So once you have you have everything in place, again, you easily move your connector information and see all of the different connections for your connector. All of the ballooning that we see here, 17 and 18, 16, those are all balloon items that relate to the bill of material. So here you can see in your bill of material all the different connectors, the different terminals that are used with for those connectors, as well as all your wires and your wire length. So you get a nice count of all your parts, and also we're calculating up the length of all the wire parts. Like the bill of material, you also have a wire list. So here the wire list shows all the information for the wires that are in that particular harness. You have a library name, which is the part number, the color, the outside diameter. You have the information for the to and the from. So here, as I indicate here, you have your to and from connection information, so you know exactly where a wire is connected within the harness. Now again, if I want to customize this report and I want to see additional information, like for example, the wire name or the wire length, I can go ahead and select those fields, and now those fields are available for me to see the wire number as well as the wire length. These are reports that you're getting specific to that single harness. In our particular project here, we also have a couple other harnesses. We have this one here and this harness here. So we have a number of different harnesses within our project. If I want to generate an overall bill of material, I have that ability to generate an overall bill for every part, every single part that's in the project, and also calculate a total quantity. Here we can also go to the export, and we can export this information to a text file, an Excel spreadsheet, XML, or a CSV file. Your quantities, your cost information, you have settings within the software that allow us to set all of whatever the currency information is going to be, how you want to set the currency, how you're going to define your lengths. Do you want to use feet? Do you want to use inches? Do you want to use millimeters or millimeters squared or meters? You have that functionality in the settings, under the tools in the settings, to be able to configure how you want to work within the software. Very easy to configure your environment to work in whatever way you would like. So here we have another report that shows me all of the cable information, and then you also have just below that all of your individual wire information. Here you can see the outer diameter, the core size, the supplier, who's supplying this information, any terminal information as well. And again, easily exported out. You can create your own little Excel spreadsheet, or if you have a purchasing system, the software easily will connect to ERP systems. So if I just go back over to kind of talk about go through a little summary of what we've just talked about here. Within our harness project, we have the capabilities of importing and exporting of your 3D or 2D wire harnesses. So whether you're developing your wire harness as a 2D or a 3D harness, you can export it out of the system and import it into any other mechanical CAD system that you want. Like for example, you see these here. So we take the harness data, and you can then import it into any 3D system if you'd like to. You also have the capabilities of importing in any of these 3D type models so that you can build your harness around a virtual environment for that 3D model. That way you get real-life calculations for length, and then your costing is automatically calculated from that as well. The next thing that we did is we were able to take our data, our electrical engineering data from our electrical schematics, and bring it directly into the harness product, the harness proD. So now we created a schematic, and we easily imported in our connection data, which included color, part number, designation. You had your source and target information. Any terminals that needed to be defined were also indicated as well. Later on, we were able to then generate our 2D nail board. Nail board is a way then to identify, from the nail board we can identify our different fasteners, our lengths, our splices, and to be able to then take this data out of the virtual environment into our production environment. So the production data makes sure that we look at all of our testing and checks, make sure that that harness is, has met our standards, and then we have a wire list or a part list that we want to generate out of the software. Again, here's our life-size nail board that you're going to use to manufacture that harness, and then later take and integrate that in. So that is our presentation today on our latest and greatest product, ePlan Harness proD.